Hi, and welcome to the first stream of the year for Homo Ludens of this year 2023, the show on history and board games. I start by wishing all of you a happy new year. And if you're watching us live, well, thanks for being here tonight. And if you're watching us after the live stream, just remember that I will have added some time codes in the description if you want to navigate to the different sections of the video. Because as we usually do here, we don't only play the game. There is a bit of an historical chat in the beginning, and then we have an overview of the rules, and then we start playing. So you'll have all the different sections in there. So for this first stream of the year, we're featuring a game that I tried for the first time a while ago. I think it was a year or two. I'm not sure, but it was a while ago before what it is now, and I was really looking forward to see published. This game is Fire and Stone, the 1683 Siege of Vienna. And it was really a pleasure to see this game slowly evolving and taking its final form, especially as I am particularly fond of the graphic designer, Donald Hegarty. This is a lighter kind of card-driven war game, which is a genre that I particularly appreciate, and it covers a topic that I also like a lot, modern era siege warfare. And by the way, if you haven't watched it, a couple of years ago, I released a video about Le Musée des Plans Relief in Paris. So if you're into modeling and siege warfare, you should definitely check this out after watching the stream, obviously. To play with me tonight, I have a guest of honor, actually a guest that you might have seen already quite a few times before or heard on the podcast, Dr. Stuart Ellis-Gorman. Hey, how are you, Stuart?
Good. I just realized I left my crossbow on the other side of the room, and that was a foolish thing to have done. But thanks for
This
having
is
me.
really stupid. You can still run there and go and
I'll do
go
it
and
during
get
the
it.
interview. It'll be
Yes,
a nice
exactly.
surprise
Yes.
when things get serious.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. But thanks for being here tonight. And I was saying in the intro that I'm interested in modern era siege warfare. I think that it's also a topic that you like, right?
Yeah, I definitely like siege warfare, and I'm very interested in how games model siege warfare, because it can be quite static and tricky to make an interesting game out of something that's very long and can be quite slow, and particularly kind of medieval and early modern siege warfare.
And
I find
that's
very
exactly
interesting.
one of the questions that I want to ask our other guest, because tonight we have the pleasure of receiving designer Robert De Leskie, the designer of Fire and Stone, on the show to talk about the history behind the game, but also teach us the game if he remembers the rules. Robert, thanks for being here.
Hello. Hi, Fred. Hi, Stuart. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
It's
Happy
a
New Year.
pleasure. Yes, happy new year to you too. It's the first time that you are here, but I hope it's not the last. We're actually talking offline before that maybe we could follow this up with an interview in the future, because this for this stream we'll be focusing on your latest game that was released by Capstone. And by the way, I want to mention that Capstone provided a review copy, so I would like to thank them. And that would be the main point of focus of tonight. But I would like maybe in the future to talk more generally about what you do as a designer, but also what you do outside of game design, because as most game designers, you are not living off game design, but it would be interesting to see how your other life and your work as a game designer actually interact with each other. But thanks a lot for being here. It's really a pleasure. And before we start playing the game, what I like to ask the designers are, can you provide us with, in a few minutes, like a general historical context of the game that you're portraying in your design?
Yeah, certainly. So the game is, as it says in the title, is about the Ottoman siege of Vienna in 1683, and this was a massive military campaign launched by the Ottomans. It was actually planned the previous year in 1682, and then launched at the beginning of the campaign season in 1683. And originally, it was kind of a fake out where the Habsburg. So we've basically got the Ottomans coming in from Turkey, and all of the Ottoman campaigns at the time were launched from Istanbul. Vienna is about 1,000 miles away, and the historical period, it comes at the end of a long kind of peace between these two powers that had fought very often in the past for hundreds of years, basically. And the Habsburgs were kind of desperate to renew the peace treaty. The Ottomans took this as a sign of weakness. And basically, there was a decision taken at the highest level in the Ottoman court, probably spurred on by the Grand Vizier, Kara Mustafa Pasha. and Mehmet IV to resume the war and to go into Habsburg territory. I won't go too much into the details, but there were some internal problems with the Habsburgs. They'd been fighting the French. They had a rebellion to deal with in Hungary, and the Ottomans saw this as an opportune time to resume hostilities. And I called it a fake out before because nobody really thought that they would head straight to Vienna. Vienna was 1,000 miles away from Constantinople, from Istanbul. It was at the very limits of the Ottoman kind of operational space. This was a very, very kind of challenging undertaking for them. They had attempted it once before in the 16th century and failed. And this was meant to be a kind of a do-over, and it was going to work this time. That was the hope. So they went into Austria, and as I said, no one really knew what was going on, where they were headed until about 2 weeks before they kind of really made the final kind of push towards Vienna. And they more or less caught the Viennese off guard. And the Habsburg forces had to kind of scramble to put their defenses in place. So by early July, actually about mid-July, basically probably somewhere between 100 and 170,000 Ottomans show up outside of the gates of Vienna. And at that point, the defensive force inside Vienna is about somewhere about 15,000, sort of 12 to 15,000. And those are the two forces that kind of square off for the next basic goal that's set for the start of the game.
Okay, great. But thanks for the general overview. And before jumping into the game, there was another question that I had for you before we start playing. And that's also something that Stuart alluded to in the introduction. Is siege warfare is usually, I would say, underrepresented in wargaming. Because it can be hard, I guess, to design something that is exciting when the situation is so slow and attritional and there is no movement. And I was wondering, how did you approach your design to make this an exciting game, even though the material is not necessarily, at least doesn't seem extremely playable at first glance?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And this was something that you and I kind of chatted about, I think, initially, the first time that we actually kind of made contact and talked about the game. And I do think it was about 2 years ago or so. And this was a really important thing for me, because if you go back and you look at the kind of the written accounts of sieges, they're incredibly dramatic. The kind of the eyewitness accounts and so forth are very dramatic. And in fact, siege literature, looms very large in literary history. One of the oldest stories that we have, which is the Iliad, is the story of a siege. So the kind of the drama and the horror and the expectation and the tension of siege warfare is kind of written into human history in a really kind of deep way. But I don't think it's always been reflected in gameplay, at least how we've kind of modeled it. And this is in no way any kind of slight against the many wonderful siege games that have been made over the decades. But my finding was that oftentimes they tended to use a lot of the kind of vernacular of maneuver, I think is one way to put it. You know what I mean? Which works great for kind of set piece battles or battles that are based on maneuver with cavalry or even infantry and so forth. And that's not really what the tactics of siege warfare are about, which tend to kind of settle down onto a particular weakness in a fortification, and it turns into a battle of attrition. And I wanted to see with this game if I could come up with a way of presenting that would make it, kind of reflect a little bit of what I thought was the really interesting drama and kind of storytelling, and also the tactical decisions that I was seeing reflected in the literature. One thing I should point out, someone had an excellent comment on YouTube, actually. I think it was on one of the Player's Aid videos, that in some ways that this isn't really a siege game so much as a breach game, which I thought was kind of interesting, because this game does focus more on a tactical level, and we're not really involved so much with issues around investment or kind of trying to starve out the city, or the kind of wider strategic concerns with kind of establishing and maintaining a siege. But this particular, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's actually a really good point. That the game is really focusing on the breach, and I think it's a great way to actually focus on a specific high tension point of the overall siege. And I was surprised by this approach. But when we played it for the first time and you showed it to me, I thought it was a really genius idea to talk about siege warfare by focusing on a specific breach. And yeah, I thought it was a really great idea, especially for that specific battle. But still, overall, I think it was a good way to focus on the drama of it, because like trying to do a breach is, of course, extremely tense. But you were about to say something else. Sorry.
I think what I was going to say actually was something you kind of hit on, that this battle in particular kind of lends itself to this, I think, because it was so dramatic. Because what happened historically was that the Ottomans fought themselves right up to the inner wall, to what's called the curtain wall, and were quite possibly a day or two away from breaching the city when the relief force showed up. So the history itself was very dramatic, and trying to kind of create the circumstances where those conditions could exist in this game was something that was really important to me. And I think just by virtue of the way that the siege was fought, and by virtue of how certain circumstances existed, particularly kind of in sort of eastern-facing sieges at this time, focusing on breach made a lot of sense. You know, if we were to look at a Vauban siege or something like this, it might be a little bit different, where logistics were really kind of crucially important. But this was really, from my understanding, the history is really about the Ottoman forces just trying to get through a weak point, get into the city, and capture it. So
yeah, okay. But I guess I'm gonna bring the game on stream now, and we'll probably have some discussions either while we play or after the game. I just want to note something that was actually a really pleasant surprise, because Capstone Games is not necessarily I would say a historical game publisher. And I was really surprised to see that they had this whole historical booklet coming with it that you would find normally on GMT games or stuff like this. And I thought it was really great that it was in there, providing the full historical context behind the battle, but also the aftermath and the political consequences of it. I thought that was really great. Was it something that they asked for, or something that you asked for, or just something that happened naturally and no one really discussed about it?
It was something I'd always intended with the game. You know, this is my third kind of historical game and kind of conflict-based game, and that's always been part of it. You know, I think as you know, as you know, designers yourselves, you know, the history is so often what draws us into it. You know,
yeah.
And the kind of the designing, you know, just as playing a historical-based game is a way of engaging with history, designing one is also really, you know, a way of engaging with history. And it was very important for me to kind of reflect that. Now, with that said, Clay at Capstone, as president of Capstone, was incredibly supportive, both of the game, but also of including the history, and was very interested in it and very kind of excited by it. And I think he was just excellent to work with, amazing to work with, and his own kind of you know, interest in history and kind of love of it is it's all over the box. You know, like he really wanted to put really reflect some of the art and so forth. So,
and that's definitely one of the things that I want to say. It was also such a pleasant surprise. I want to say I'm not being paid by Capstone Games in any way, means or form, but I was really impressed by the production, and I was to just as a historical games player. So not really a grognard, but someone who likes wargame and everything. Seeing a company like Capstone Games making such a game like this was, for me, was extremely positive. I was really excited to see such a company doing things like this, bringing also that kind of production quality, but also working on accessibility and making it. So I think it's great. And the fact that they are picking up Matthias Kramer's next game is also something that I'm extremely excited about. And if there were more bridges like this of companies that are not necessarily focused on historical gaming starting to do serious historical game design, that's just amazing. But that's great. Okay, I'll stop like being just too excited about this. I'm really excited to have this first play of this final version, so we can see the board here. So as I said upstream, I will be playing the Ottomans, and Stuart, you are going to be playing the people of Vienna trying to defend their city. And I was saying that it made sense for me to play the Ottomans because as a Frenchman, there is a natural alliance here that made sense historically. So I took my natural place, you could say. But could you tell us, looking at the board, what are the different elements and what both Stuart and I are trying to achieve?
Okay, great. I'm just going to see if do I have a. Yeah, I have a hand. Do I have a hand that
You
appears in the
should
game?
have so what I could do is actually make you a game master, so you should be able to point at stuff. Yeah,
that'd be nice. And then I can do the little.
And you can move stuff also. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
exactly.
just made a little thing there. That's great. Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, basically, we've got the Ottomans who are starting down here, and they are trying to get up to here, and that's Vienna up there. And the game board itself is based on the historical maps of Vienna. It's abstracted, of course, into this sort of hex shapes and hex locations here. And we have a number of very kind of typical examples of gunpowder siege fortifications. I won't go into them in too much depth, just to let you know, because we may be referring to these terms, is that this is the glacis here, which is the a kind of a wide open field that the Ottomans would have to kind of cross and usually by entrenching through, digging trenches and so forth. This here is what's called the covered way, which was an outer defensive work. First line of defense. Inside we have a ditch, which at Vienna was supposed to be filled with water, but for various reasons was dry, and it also turned into kind of a point of conflict. We have an outer work here called the Ravelin, which is almost like a kind of an earthen fortress, which is designed to provide another kind of stop for incoming armies. And then we have the bastions. And these are gunpowder bastions. You can see they're kind of shaped like arrows as opposed to the kind of the more traditional round bastions of medieval fortresses. And then we've got what's called the curtain wall, and that's the inner wall of the city. Basically, and you'll have to stop me, Fred, if I'm going too far off track, because I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
But basically, this is an architectural landscape killing machine, which is essentially what star fortresses were and what gunpowder fortifications were. This is designed to reduce the effectiveness. You've got basically 100,000 people over here and 12 to 15,000 fighting forces in here. And the landscape and these fortifications are designed to negate that, slow them down so that a relief force can show up. In the game, as I said, basically the Ottomans are going to be trying to move from the bottom of the board to the top of the board. They win by taking either this space here, which represents a breach into the city, or they can take two locations here, which is the Ravelin and the Berg Bastion over here. And that basically accomplishes the same thing. I want to provide a couple options for them
so you have two paths to victory, and I really like the symbology here where you have the full vizier scepter that is for the single hex, or the two partially colored one to show that it's so either this or this. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll go a little quicker now. I'll try to do less history and more mechanics. In terms of the symbols on the board, we have these represent. Well, actually, let me zoom out for a second, give people the broader approach. It's a card-driven game, so each player is going to take a hand of 5 cards, which they're going to use either they're going to discard a card either for an action or to play a special event on it.
I'm going to take cards into my hand, so it's 5 strategy cards, right, for each of us, because there are 2 decks.
Yeah.
There are strategy cards here, and then we have is it tactics card, I think.
Yes. So the tactics cards are only used during battles, and you'll take a hand of 5 of those as well. There's 10 cards, and the players draw 5, and those are the only cards you get during the game. The other 5 aren't used.
And so you play a card either for its event or for an operation. So
that's it.
Yeah. So in a CDG sense, all cards are 1-ups cards, you could say.
You got it exactly. I wanted to keep that nice and simple.
Yes.
And then we have, and then the tactics cards are only used during battle.
Okay, we're just going to show it. Yeah, the tactics card really beautiful with very nice illustrations. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's Donald, of course. He's the graphic designer.
And Donald is in the. Don't say too many nice things. Donald is in watching the stream and just he cannot get enough of us saying that the art is nice.
If you're too nice to him, he'll get notions, and you can't have him having notions.
Oh no, yeah. I had to carry him the whole way through this entire process.
Yes, And I still need to ask him to do free stuff to help me. So if he's too confident, then he's gonna ask, "Wait a minute, why are you asking me?" So no, not too much confidence for them. And by the way, there is just one question in the chat. So Satnam Gaming here was asking if it has already been released. And yeah, just a question about the release and availability. So I don't know if you know that, Robert, so specifically regarding availability in Europe.
Well, yeah, it has been released. It was released back in October, and it should be available. It's widely available in North America, and when I look online, it seems to be available with a number of FLGS in Europe and the UK. So hopefully it's available to the person who's asking.
Yeah, and he's based in the UK, so maybe have a check at Zatu, because I guess that Zatu distributes Capstone games, so probably you should find it there. Cool. Okay, but so we have strategy cards, and we take strategy cards either to, I see you were saying, to activate the event, so that would be just use the event as written, or we can use them for operations, right?
That's right. And you'll notice that some of the cards there have got red bands and some have gray bands.
Yeah.
And the gray bands are response cards. So those are events you can play in response to a card played by another player. So you can interrupt the regular kind of play of cards. It kind of lets you take a turn on someone else's turn.
Nice.
Okay. Now the last set of cards that we also have troop cards, which are these guys here, and these are your forces. And this is a little different than a typical kind of hex and counter game. There's no counters in this game. These are your troops here, and these are selected by the player during assaults or sorties, and played face down and kind of revealed by both players at the same time. So quick bit of design methodology for that, because this game is so focused on a fairly limited geographical space. The idea is that the troops can basically be anywhere, so we don't need counters to be moving between various hexes. And essentially, it also kind of models fog of war a little bit. You know, if you're the Habsburg defenders, you don't know what's coming at you until it hits you. And as the Ottomans, you don't know who's on the other side of the barricades until you get up close and personal to them. So, but it also reflects that both sides, you know, had really quite high mobility within the limited sphere of engagement represented by the map.
Cool. And I showed that there are 3 types of troops on my side. So troops of value 1, 2, and 3. And I guess it's the same for the Habsburg on the other side.
It is, but there's a difference in numbers. So there are 12 Habsburg cards, and 20 Ottoman cards. That's to show the different troop numbers. It was estimated there were about, at any given time, there were about 20,000 active troops of the 120 to 200,000 that the Ottomans had that were actually engaged in the actual breach attempt. The rest were involved in encircling the city and so forth. So. Few other things to quickly point out. We've got each side has a morale track. And one of the ways you can lose the game is if your morale goes all the way down to 0. And there's various things that lower your morale that we can kind of look at as we play. There are other pieces on the board. These are represent fortifications. These wedge shapes represent structural fortifications. So these are earthworks, like big earthen walls or stoneworks, this sort of thing. There are these pieces over here, which are improvised fortifications, which are things like palisades or blockhouses or even broken rubble that either side can kind of hide behind. For the Ottomans, they represent the trenches that they dig. There's these beautiful little cannon meeples. Oops, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong screen. These little things here, which are just my favorite thing ever. Can you flip it on? Yeah, there you go.
Very cute.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
I think we don't have enough cannon meeples in board games. I think that's definitely something. So thanks for doing that, Robert. That's
you know what? Well, that was Donald and Clay.
That's great.
Donald came up with the idea, I think, and Clay agreed to do it. So it was just wonderful. And those are really your main pieces here. These are control markers. They're just to let you. Oops, I keep clicking the wrong screen. These are control markers here. They just show who controls a hex. And then the last really important area here is this. Yes, this tunnel. This represents the tunnel. At this point in siege warfare, a lot of the siege actually took place underground because the way to get past these big earthen walls was to blow them up from underneath. And in many ways, to our eyes, a 17th century siege would look almost as much like a World War I battlefield as it would a medieval siege with, high walls and so forth, because both sides were really kind of, the Ottomans, the way the Ottomans wanted to get past all of these cannons and so forth was to dig trenches up through here and then dig mine shafts under these earthworks and blow them up from underneath, get under the walls, blow them up. And the Habsburgs would do the same thing. They would try to intercept the tunnels and collapse them with dynamite or blow up the Ottomans on the other side. And there's a kind of almost a mini game where you draw tiles from these bags. And when you get, each tile has, as Fred's been showing, has a face value on it. When you have a value of 4 or 3 with a special card, you can explode everything in a hex, blow it up. And that's the way in the game you get rid of these markers here, these wedge-shaped markers. And we'll see what those wedge-shaped markers do during a battle. They affect how the battles unfold.
Nice.
Is that enough to get started, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's enough to get started. I have 5 cards in hand. I guess that, Stuart, you do 2. I can see that you have cards. Yes, perfect. And I think it's enough to get started, and then we can explain each operation as we go. I think it's good to go. And if I remember correctly, the Ottomans have the initiative, right?
That's correct.
Good. So I guess that as the Ottomans, I'm looking at all this, and it's all good and nice, but I guess I need to get closer to those fortifications to start blowing them up. Or can I accumulate shovels already in a space to blow it up, or do I need to be adjacent to it to?
Yes. So you need to probably the typical thing would be to start entrenching, but you can also. I don't know if you can quickly show the player aid. Player aid, yeah, yep. That's got, just so that people understand, if they do play it on Basso, and these come with it. Now it's packed with information, and some people have said it looks like a little bit like an eye test. But the good thing about it is you basically get all the rules of the game on a single page. So once you read the main rules, you can basically play off of this. Now, for with the mining action, yes, you do need to blow up a space that you're adjacent to. Adjacency is a factor in this game. That's why we have the hexes. So what you could do is you can start mining, but you can't blow anything up until you get, a control space closer to it. So your options at the beginning, as you can see, entrench. Entrench is a special action which lets you get across the glacis. Assault is when you attack a Habsburg position, but you need to be adjacent to them, which means next to them. Mine is when you start digging your mines, and that's what we just talked about. They come in a little bag, go into the little area over there. Fortify lets you shore up your position. And then you can also just shoot off your guns and hope you get lucky and blow stuff up. Quick historical note here is that unlike other sieges, the attackers here were kind of outgunned. The Ottomans didn't bring a lot of heavy cannons for various reasons, and the Habsburgs actually outgunned them 2-1, which is why they've got more cannon markers on the board. And that was something that really forced historically the Ottomans to dig and fight their way up inch by inch, and that's reflected in how the game is set up.
Oh, I'm going to take a first operation. Do I discard face up or face down my card that I use for
face up?
Face up. Okay.
Yep.
So this is it. So I'm discarding this card. I'm not discarding it for the event. I'm discarding it for doing the action. And the action that I want to take is entrench. So this means that in one uncontrolled glacis hex, so that's going to be one of those 3, what I can do is I can place 2 improvised fortifications. So that will be boop, boop, like this. And then I can move any number of cannons there. Would it be a bad idea to move all of my cannons already there? Is it a major risk, or can I go for it?
Would you like my advice?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Yeah. Initially, you want to move them all up because the Ottoman cannons can only attack into spaces that they're adjacent
to. Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually you may want to divide them up for reasons of safety, but generally you want to kind of keep them packed together.
Yeah. And because I'm thinking maybe I can move like 3 in, and then if I do a future entrench, I could still move them here, for example.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to you, but if you were to defend right now, let's say that Stuart were to get really crafty and attack into sortie into the space here, you would only be defending with 3 or 4 dice. So it's up to you, of course. I tend to keep them together, but that's for every player to decide themselves.
Okay, but I'm gonna go with my first instinct, and I'm gonna pack everything here, and that's gonna be my my entrance. And then in reply to this, so that means that I could get +1 morale and -1 morale for the Habsburg, right?
Yeah.
So
You're already at the Ottomans are at maximum morale, and
Yeah.
so you can't go any higher. But the Habsburgs are starting to sweat a little bit.
And now the Habsburg get to roll a dice, one for each of their cannons, and I think they start with 9 cannons on the board, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so you can roll your 9 dice, and then for a 6, you're going to be able to kill one of my troops.
It says 37. How do I? These dice seem like they're multiple dice.
Yeah, they are. If you can, I think if you can do this and then, yeah, okay. It
Oh,
works.
yeah.
Perfect.
There
So
we go.
that's, oh my god, 3 6s. So you get to. So I'm gonna randomize this, and you can remove.
2.
Yeah, it's kept to 2. So now you can kill 2 of my troops. So I started with an advantage of +8 troops to yours, to your, yeah. So that means I'm gonna go down to 6. Do you want me to draw them randomly from the top?
Yeah, that would be handy. Me and PTS aren't very good friends.
And you kill a Janissary, so that's awesome. And okay, so yeah, so one really good one and one okay one. So that starts really well. I'm really happy with that.
Now, just so that the viewers know, when you're playing this in real life, you wouldn't actually show those cards to your opponent, so your opponent wouldn't know. A bit of fog of war. You don't know how much damage you've done.
Would Fred know? Would he look?
Yeah, I would know, but
know,
yeah.
Okay.
And also for the players, these cards are out of the game now for the rest of the game, unless you bring them back in with the use of a special event.
Yeah.
So.
And so Stuart, some people are asking about your crossbow. So at some point, you really need to make sure that you bring it up, because there is a crossbow in the room. He just forgot about it, but it will come.
Yeah.
The crossbow
at a
will
key
come.
moment.
And we had the
In the
question
crossbow.
just a couple of times. Of course, people are asking about the Polish hussars and their amazing wings, and they ask, are they going to come up? But I'm trying to show this counter, the track counter here, that is actually just this. So, but maybe you want to talk about the hussars.
Can you see that now? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
There's the Polish hussars there, and they show up here. Oops, daisies, they show up at the end of the turn here. So we don't actually do the Battle of the Kallenberg Heights, or the Battle of Kallenberg, but you can pull out your favorite war game and fight that battle at the end of this game if you like. This game focuses on the siege, but that's the clock that's ticking are the relief forces, or Jan Sobieski and Charles of Lorraine kind of mounting a relief, making their way slowly towards Vienna.
So this desperate struggle says perform a complete action, then a different second action. So this is I get to do 2 things as long as they're different.
That's it.
I understand it. So
That's awful.
a mine has to be. A mine can't be the first one. So I'm going to barrage Fred and then place a mine.
Okay, so how does the barrage works for you? So that means that you're going to roll 9 dice. Yeah, and yeah.
I'm looking for 2 6s.
And no, 0 would do. 0 6s is exactly what you deserve. So that's
Game
good.
is rigged against me, Fred.
That was action 1, and that was ridiculous. And now action 2.
And then I get to
give it a shuffle first. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I shuffled it. Oh, yeah. I think this should be hidden. So flip it.
Yeah, flip it in my hand, and then
Perfect. Good. So those were your 2 actions. And because there are 5 turns and 30 cards, we're not going to reshuffle through the deck. So if there is an event that I want, I should probably pick it, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, if you want to use it now. So again, for players, you can hold on to 1 card. You have to play at least 4 cards. You can hold on to 1 card from round to round. But otherwise, you don't play through the deck more than once. In fact, there's more cards than there are. There will always be leftover cards at the end of every game, so that provides a little bit of difference from game to game.
Okay. But then I'm going to take another action, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to entrench again. Oops, that's maybe one too many. Gonna entrench. I'm just thinking something. I didn't. Yeah, I need to place those control markers. I forgot. And would it make sense maybe to divide my cannons into maybe two piles, or do you think it's risky?
Well, this is more of a typical kind of situation where you would might do that. The chance for the player or for the audience. I mean, the main reason you would divide your cannons is that whenever anyone takes over a space, so either through an assault, which is the Ottoman player, or a sortie, which is the Habsburg player, if you win a fight in one of these hexes, you clear out everything in it. It's lost. So the guns are lost permanently unless a card event brings them in. So that's where sometimes you might want to divide these guns up, is so that that if you do, the Habsburgs get lucky, you don't lose all of your cannons.
Yeah.
The other thing is that very quickly is that a difference. This is a kind of like sort of lightly asymmetrical game. The Habsburg guns don't need to be adjacent to hit into any hex, but the Ottoman guns do have to be adjacent. So if you wanted to assault into here, for example, only these guns would work.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, but then that's it for me, and I guess that now, Stuart, you get to roll your dice to once again kill some of my units. I can feel already the attrition. And that's 2 6s that would do. I'm gonna do that again and take 2 of those cards and check what they are. Well,
I'm really trying hard not to look at the stream when
yeah, please don't do that.
I have a 2 monitor, so it's just like there all the time.
Good. Okay, so we're done, and now it's back to you. You can take your action, and players can pass at any point. It's just that if 2 players pass consecutively, it's the end of the turn, right?
Yes, you can pass as long as you've got a lesser number than your opponent, or 0 or 1 card you can pass. Sounds complicated, but in play it's very simple.
Yeah, so for now, for example, Stuart couldn't pass.
Volunteer miners. I do a mine action, but with 2 tiles. Okay.
Good for you.
Decided to take an aggressive posture in this.
It's okay. So you're mining a lot. Okay, that's good to know.
I wouldn't worry about it. It's probably fine.
I'll just interject here, which is that if you have a total of 4 or more shovels in there, which is based on the face value of them, you can trigger an explosion right now. Like as they're placed, you can trigger an explosion in the same turn.
Sadly, I don't.
Not telling you to do it, just letting you know for the people watching.
Good. But then it's back to me, and I'm going to play an event, not for an operation, but for the event, actually. So I'm going to play the Night Raid, and I'm going to remove 2 Habsburg cannons from any hexes adjacent to a single hex I control. So adjacent to that hex, there are 2 cannons, and those 2 cannons are going away.
Excellent.
So which one's the curtain wall? Is this outer wall, right?
That is the covered way. So the curtain wall is the inner wall.
The inner wall. But it actually doesn't matter where my cannons are.
No.
Okay, I'm going to play recover cannons. It plays 2 cannons.
Oh,
on my
l'enfoiré.
curtain wall.
All this for that. Well, that was really worth it. Nice. Okay. Don't like it one bit. I don't want to end the turn without having taken one of those thingies here. So I guess what I can do is bombard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this card to do a bombard action. And bombard means that I'm going to be able to roll 6 dice here. And for every 6, I remove 1 structural information. See, it's maybe a bit of an overkill, right? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you're just before you roll, just so you know that your bombard is you have to get 2 or more 6s, and if you get 2 or more 6s, you can remove 1 structural fortification.
Oh, okay, so it's maybe a good thing that I'm rolling 6 dice. Yeah. I might actually not do it. Should I assault instead? I'll try to bombard first. We'll see. And I get 2 6s, so that's nice.
Very lucky.
So it means that this goes away, and then Stuart will play a card to place it back, and that would be perfect.
Sadly, I can only add improvised fortifications, but I will add 1 improvised fortification to any 2 hexes I control, respecting limits.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
And limits is 2 fortifications per space, so you could have okay. So you could have
one there and then 1 here, right?
Good.
I'm not entirely sure what fortifications do, but I feel like they're important.
Yeah, so what they will do is that they will force me to put one of my armies in the back, in the rear. So that's pretty good. And you're going to see it right now, because with my last card, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an assault on that hex.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play this card for the ups, and I'm going to do an assault. And so when I do an assault, I attack a Habsburg control space that is adjacent to a hex I control, and that means that we trigger a battle. So the base number of armies that I can commit is 3, right? But then it's +1 for each adjacent hex, so that would be 5, and that's it, right? Because I can trace back to my original camp, or did I miss something?
That's right.
Okay.
I get 3.
Get 3. So now actually, I can choose. I don't have to draw here. I can take all of it and choose specific cards.
Yes, and Fred, I just want to check your math on that. So you said 5, right? You can. Yes, right. Very good. You can play 5 troops. So
if I had controlled this, it could be 6.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is the maximum number.
Yeah. So I'm going to search for a specific card, because I have a bit of an idea here. I have sort of a plan. So you definitely. You too. And then I'm going to do this.
The images, by the way, on the troop cards are originally from the New York Public Library, and they're from a collection of military dress drawings that are from the early 19th century.
The illustrations on the troop cards are just amazing. I think it's really, it's really cool.
And this is something that Donald and I found.
So I'm gonna lay the battle here, Stuart. People keep complaining that I'm not digging. Come on, Alexandre.
Dig.
Let me take one thing, and then I will start digging. I will dig. I need a good target to dig. I had this card to remove cannons, so I didn't need to dig.
He's afraid of the mines. That's what it is.
Yes, I'm afraid of the mines.
It's claustrophobia. He's afraid of the mines.
Okay, so now that we've done this, when do we draw tactic cards? Like, is it an event?
Yes. So what happens now is that you're the attacker. So you choose whether to select a tactics card, and then Stuart can decide after if he wants to play tactics.
Oh, and I can take any of those tactics cards.
Any
I don't
that
have
you
to.
want.
Okay.
Okay. So you've got 11 there. No. You need to draw.
Okay.
You should have drawn 5 into your hand. So each of you take out of there's a deck of 10 tactics cards, or 11, I think, if you've got the promo, and you choose 5 at the beginning randomly. I shouldn't say you choose. You draw 5 randomly, and those are your cards for the entire game. The other cards go back in the box. Now there is a rule that if you can throw out your cards, like if you get a draw you're not happy with, you can throw them out. But until you play the game a bit, you won't really know what's a good draw for you.
Check. Okay, I'm gonna play this tactics card. Stuart, are you playing one?
I'm thinking. I'm trying to read them, and also I only kind of know how combat works, so it's a little challenging. But
so the thing that you have to know is that we're going to compare the value of our units. But because there is a fortification here, out of my 5, 1 is going to have to take is going to be on the back. And actually, so that means that you're going to be 4 to 3, and you know that my units range from value 1 to 3. So
And
I
then
have my value here is between 4 and 12. Oh no,
Okay.
4 and 4 and 12. So that would be the idea. It's a bit of rock paper scissors, but the thing is that I'm going to take casualties on those. So there is a bit of a balance. Do you think that I'm going to put the
all right,
strongest one
I'm gonna play
first or
tactics
not?
card. I
Actually,
100% think you're gonna do that, Fred. That's the vibe here, right? Over the top.
wait a minute. I took back my card. I don't know wait a minute. What have I done?
See, these are the French. You just can't
Yeah,
trust
I know.
them.
Okay, that doesn't matter.
Like-
Okay, let's go. Yeah.
He changes his card in front of everyone on the stream.
So we were good. So the first thing that we do is wait a minute. Let me check the battle. So do we reveal the tactics card first, or do we? So
You
we
reveal
select
the troops. Well, you reveal all the cards, but you should
reveal
move
everything.
your
Okay.
rear line troop there. Move it back up to the front for now, so
Yeah.
everybody shows all their cards off. Yeah.
Okay. You go first. You're the attacker. You get the honor.
How?
Nice.
Great. And the next thing that happens is this improvised fortification here, as Fred said, means that Fred has to move one troop out of the front line. So this is sort of represents troops that are kind of rendered ineffective by the fortifications. So the winner, as Fred said, is going to be who has the highest numeric value of face cards on the two front lines here. But there's a couple other things that are going to come into play. First of which are the effects of these tactics cards, if they're resolved at this stage of the battle.
They're both casualties cards.
They're casualties cards. So what we're going to do now is resolve these cards at this stage, except that your card, Stuart, will be it'll affect the cannon roll. Okay, so we can kind of, they're sort of simultaneous in a sense. So what we can do with Fred's card is take care of it right now, maybe, because I think that's a card that just has an immediate effect.
Yes, I have an immediate effect that says that during the casualty step, I eliminate one random frontline Habsburg troop, and as they were all the same, I guess we can, just take this.
So they
one.
got blowed up. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to roll for the effects of the artillery, and this is the effects of what the cannons are doing, and this is where those 9 guns versus your 6 are going to have a real impact, perhaps. Although he's down to 7, isn't he? Stuart's down to 7 because you eliminated 2.
I brought 2 back.
Yeah, but he brought 2 back. So
oh yes, you brought 2 back
to 9. Yeah,
and you're basically firing shrapnel shells.
So you hit on 5 and 6s. So you're definitely going to do 2 hits.
So you guys can both roll all your dice. You can do it at the same time if you like. Fred is hitting on a 6, and Stuart's hitting on a 5 or 6. Ooh.
So I hit 2.
Yeah.
And Stuart also hits 2.
Does this cap all my hits at 2, or just the hits at 5 or 6 at 2?
It hits. So your 5s or 6, your 5s or 6s hit. So you both killed 2 troops.
So those 2 are going to die.
So it's randomly selected, Fred.
Sad.
Now you're going to win because you basically eliminated all of Fred or all of Stuart's troops. But if it was a different set of circumstances, it could be, you might have killed everybody except for your.
So I'm randomizing the units that die, which makes sense. Like it would be weird if I can choose.
Janissaries have, mook armor.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so those are, and then I bring everything back into my.
Yeah, and you would compare the front row value, but in this case you don't need to because you've killed all of Stuart's troops. Now, if both of your front lines have been eliminated, then Stuart would win. So the defenders win ties. Okay, and now you basically take over that hex.
That's going to be a boop here. And now the question I'm wondering is, when I take the hex, is it like an entrench and I place 2 temporary fortifications?
That's it. And you can also kind of reallocate your guns at this point. You can move them, you can consolidate them, you can move them around, you can do whatever you want with them.
Okay. I'm just wondering, is there a risk for me to leave that hex empty behind me?
Unlikely, because the Habsburg player at this point can't get in behind you, because the Habsburgs can never move on to the Glacis. They can attack
Oh
into
yeah,
it.
so they could only
sortie into
attack
it.
here.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, fair
that's it.
enough. Okay, but that's perfect then.
And also your morale would go up by 1, which doesn't need to. You're already at max, and Stuart's comes down 1.
Okay. That could have been better. It has
could
no
have-
cards.
Yeah, that was my last play of the round.
And if I keep a card, I draw 2-5. I don't draw 5 more.
Yeah, you draw up to 5, up to your hand.
To
Yeah,
5,
you
yeah.
never.
So reduce the number of cards I draw.
Yeah.
I detonate a mine, I remove 1 of his fortifications.
Yes, if you detonate a mine, you will eliminate both of those improvised fortifications.
Is it both of them?
I'm checking at the mines. Yeah. Yeah, it's all improvised fortifications from it.
Oh yeah.
So that wouldn't be super nice.
So I'll mine again. Discard that.
You're taking the whole bag now. That's
Yeah, the whole bag. Okay. I need 4, right?
Yeah, I guess you have
So,
4 now, unless you
I
have some
4,
zero
I have 4
shovels.
ones.
Yeah.
And we'll mine this middle one.
You have to make a loud kaboom sound.
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
Very good. Next to the microphone, so it really had that
It has that kind of pop
Yeah.
horrible mic filter thing.
Yes, I really
This
like
is the
it.
quality I bring to your channel.
Yes, thank you very much, Stuart,
You're
for
so
that.
welcome.
Goes here, and that's concludes the round. Then we go to round 2. We draw 5 cards again.
Yeah.
And of course, for those watching in the live stream, if you have some questions, please feel free to ask them to Robert, and I will bring them on screen.
So now I think it's time for our Warriors of God interlude, where we talk about how great Warriors of God is.
It is a great
decides
game.
what to do with this. It's a great game. More
Hmm.
games should have random leader death tables, you know?
Oh, wait a minute. At the end of the turn, do you bring back troop in the discard to your troop?
Yes, sorry,
Okay.
I'm being a little negligent in the teaching here. So all of the troops that are eliminated are gone for good, but troops that are exhausted come back into your hand. So those are troops that were not killed but played.
Okay, good. That's yeah, because I put everything back thinking it was
Yeah.
my last operation, but I wasn't. I realized I wasn't sure.
Because I could have attacked. Trixie
Hmm.
Fred.
Trying to figure out what I want to do. I think I want to build some fortifications again, because I would be a bit worried if you take that that hex here. I'm somewhat worried. And I guess I should be, right? Shouldn't I be worried?
I wouldn't. It'd be fine.
And the thing is that for this I could do an entrench. Or is it an entrench or is it a fortify? Oh yeah, it would have to be a fortify here.
Yes.
And that would be a way for me to also move my cannons back, I guess. Because I'm worried about those cannons being here. So I'm going to do an entrench. And I'm going to play this reserve card here and place it here. And I'm going to place... So the entrench is place a fortification in a space you control, which is the case here. And then I may move all of my cannons anywhere on the map. And I think...
Yeah, what you're doing actually is not an entrench, it's a fortify.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, it's a fortify. So I add 1 improvised fortification to a hex you control with 0/1 fortification, and then you may move any number of your cannons from any hex you control to any other hex you choose. I'm looking at the sortie though, because actually I might be happy if you started a battle. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna tempt him incoming. That's good. Your turn, Stuart.
I'm going to do something. No. What am I going to do? I think I might just dig more mines, you know? I'm going to dig a mine.
So I see in the chat, Patchwork Pictures has asked, is there countermining and siege parallels? So the entrench is sort of are the siege parallels on the glacis. So that's in the sense that's what these improvised fortification markers represent, and as the Ottomans lay them down. And there are actually countermining opportunities. There's specific event cards that allow you to kind of turn a mine explosion into a countermining activity or event where it collapses your opponent's tunnels. So yeah, that is represented in the game.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also do a mine action. Back to you.
One thing I'll point out too is that the Ottomans and the Habsburgs have a slightly different kind of setup in terms of the mining, the value of the mining tokens that they can pull out. The Ottomans were better miners than the Habsburgs, who were largely desperate amateurs. So the Ottomans have higher value mining tokens. So they should be able to hit the number 4 quicker than the Habsburgs.
I'm definitely feeling that. My draws have not been good.
And I'm going to mine again. You, Stuart.
I'm going to make you discard a random card from your hand.
Well, tell me 1 or 2.
2.
Okay, so this would be the one that I discard. And then it's back to me. Just need to check something. Wait a minute. That's not what I wanted to hear. Okay, then you made the choice easy for me. So I'm going to play this to mine. And then if I reach a 4, I can reveal them, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to reach a 4. I'm going to reveal all of them, and I'm going to target that hex. So the result of the mine is
You remove the structural fortification.
Yeah.
But not the improvised.
Goes away.
And that's a big thing, because basically those are really hard to get rid of. You have to blow them up or get very lucky with cannon shot, or there's a few tactic cards that allow you to kind of circumvent them.
And I'm done. That was my last card.
Disappointed, Fred, that we didn't get an explosion sound from you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it should be valid. I think it's too late.
I'm a bit sad that you made me discard my last card, though. It was a bit of a dick move.
Okay, I'm gonna do some mining. Always be mining. And then it's my turn again, isn't it? Because you don't have a card?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to play Captain Hafner's Miners, which allows me to reveal 3 shovels to do.
Oh.
So 3 shovels. I remove 2 improvised fortifications from a single Ottoman-controlled hex adjacent to a hex I control. I think...
Yeah, you're going to take those 2?
Yeah, we'll remove those 2.
Okay.
And then I eliminate 2 random troops from the Ottoman troop deck. So,
and I can take them for you if you want.
Thank you. And then reduce Ottoman morale by 1. And then these go back in the bag.
Oh, you should probably have flipped them. It's okay if you draw them. So that's the end of round 2. We go into round 3. Take 5 more cards. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. It's okay.
So Arturo has asked, A question, Robert, one question. Unless noted, tactical cards resolve before casualties. There is one tactical card which doubles the power of a troop, but this is not stated to be after casualties. How would I know if that particular troop was doubled? Or, how would I know if that particular troop which was doubled was eliminated? We'll see if this comes up during the game. But basically, the way that people have been resolving it, Artur, is you kind of mark it. People have been sort of maybe putting that card underneath the troop and then rolling a die to determine which of the troops are eliminated. 1 to 2 equals the first card, 2 to 3 equals the second, 5 to 6 equals the third. My math is terrible, but something along those lines. So you just have to sort of find a little solution to figure it out, if that makes sense.
And I just discarded a card to do another operation, and my operation is going to be an assault on that hex.
Okay.
So same, that would be 5 cards for me and 3 cards for you. So I'm going to search for specific stuff.
Draw my tactics cards to remind myself what they do.
So those are my 5 cards. And now I'm just gonna remove this card from my hand and bring my tactics cards. I'm going to play 1 tactics card.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know actually if that makes sense. Hold on.
By the way, Fred, you can use that handy dandy little flaming cannonball there to the left of the mining bags to show which hex you're assaulting.
Ah, that's what it's for. Nice.
Yes.
I'm going to definitely use it. It makes a lot of sense. I love it.
That's a little Donald special there, that little graphic.
Yeah, but that's perfect. I love it. I really love this. The counter in the game is really, really nice. Cool. Okay, so I'm done with my. So we can reveal everything.
Play a casualty? Or play strategic tactics, whatever it is. I'm just having a bit of a think about it slowly.
Okay.
This one is complicated, but seems useful right now. I do kind of want to not lose this one, but I also don't know if I. Yeah, I'll play that one. No, we'll just flip ours.
Yep. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. And I'm putting this one on the back for the fortification, and then I have this card that makes me double the value of one of my frontline troops.
So this is actually goes right to Artur's question, which is we're going to have a random elimination here. So just tuck that under one of your cards, the one that you want to double.
Donc 2, 4, 2, 4, 5. Actually, I think I'm just gonna. Well, that will be the one that makes the most sense, just in case.
Yeah.
So if he survives on his own, that should be fine. Yeah.
Okay. And then we do our shooting.
Yeah, yes. And then what was your card? I can't see it, Stuart.
+1 to the battle value of each of my frontline infantry.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. So you'll do your.
So that's 6. So that's going to be 8 for you. Yeah. So I roll. Oh, I do 0 damage. And you do 2. That might be enough. Okay, I know that. Oh, but how would I know? Yeah, how do I randomize this?
here you know that it's the 3. You've got, what is it? You've got 2 3s, a 2, and a 2. Yeah, so here this gets a little bit tricky. I mean, if you had an
Roll a
8-sided
die.
die, you could, or a 4-sided die, you could roll a 4-sided die to determine which one.
You could roll a die and re-roll any 5s or 6s.
There
Yeah.
you go. That's the other way to do it.
Probably. So 1 and 2. Oh, but I need to know which one is going to die, though. Yeah. So
You
I
just
will
count
first
over.
I will first do my casualties. So randomly select 2. And
Just
then I'll
draw both
check.
Janissaries, and that will solve this problem for us.
Yes, exactly. So this one and this one. And now I need to check if it's... So what I can do potentially is just for this one, just 1, 2, 3, it would be the one without, and 4, 5, 6 is the other one. So it's the one without. So meaning that this is a 6 and this is an 8. But that still puts you at 8 to 8. So it's
draw.
Stuart wins.
I win draws.
Yeah, you win draws. Phew. That's awful.
Yeah, you can really see those cannons are really, it really helps if you can get a 6 on those cannons.
So he loses 1 morale.
Yeah, which is why you need to, and which is really why you need to try to eliminate your opponent's cannons, which you did do, Fred, although that crafty Stuart brought them back.
Oh yeah, that was pretty awful. I was really hoping to hurt him really soon in the beginning. I planned my whole turn around this, and it all collapsed. That's pretty bad.
So these just go into the discard.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a failed assault attempt.
Yeah, I now have cabinets left alone in the...
Yeah, so how does sorting for me work? That feels...
I think a sortie is going to come. That's my expectation.
It feels like something that's good to do.
Yeah, probably.
So we have another question from Patchwork Pictures, Patchwork seems to know a fair amount about gunpowder sieges, which is really cool, and asks, the Ravelin in the center, does it have any special rules or significance? For example, can you isolate it? Does it provide an enfilade? And the answer to that is you can see that it's a high value hex because it's got 4 cannons on it. So it provides a very tempting target for the Ottomans to try to take. It can't be cut off, but you can leverage the number of troops that the Ottomans are able to bring to bear against it by kind of surrounding it. There's no special rules with it, but it is one of the hexes that if you capture that and then capture one of the bastions, you can win the game. You capture that in the Berg Bastion because it also shows the importance of the Ravelin to the kind of the defensive strategy of the Habsburgs. But in general, the fact that the Habsburg cannons can hit everywhere without having to be adjacent is meant to sort of, in a simple way, abstract way, kind of simulate the importance of kind of covering fire from all these different positions.
Let's just do an attack. Why not? Let's live bold.
So you're doing a sortie, so that means
that there.
But straight away you gain 1 morale, though. I think that's
yes.
Yeah.
Whether
you win or not, you have a 1 morale, so that's good.
That's it.
And then we have, and then it starts a battle.
You get 4, and I get 3 for this.
Or do I only defend with 3? That's I'm not sure.
No, you defend with 4, and Stuart still only attacks with 3.
Okay. And do I always defend with 4? Yeah.
Yes, unless you're cut off from the camp.
Okay, just need to. So I'm gonna put those cards and put them aside. I'm just gonna check what I have in my tactics because I feel like if I can do something, that would be really nice.
You have 1 card there that's perfect for the situation.
Well, you decide I'm going to do something very important.
And I can only play 1 tactics card, right?
That's right.
So what I want to do? It's really bad. It's really bad. I think that if he wins this, I think that's probably the end.
Now, there's another thing you can do, Fred. Remember that you can, if you're lacking in Janissary troops, you can recover them from the discard pile, not the eliminated pile. I don't know what you've got in your discard pile there.
Yeah, I can lose morale to get one. So I could do that. I can do that at any time, right?
Yes.
So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to lose 1 morale, and I'm going to bring back. Actually, I might have a more sneaky thing to do. And is it only a Janissary, or it can be any card?
Any card.
Okay, so I know that I'm going to play this tactics card, and I'm going to play one, 2, 3, and 4. So weak. Okay, so that's that. Reveal. So what is your card? Double the value of up to 2. Oh my god. Okay.
I've also got my crossbow.
Yeah.
The finest of French manufacture.
Very nice,
Fred.
Yes,
Nice
yeah.
crossbow.
It's yeah. Oh my god. I think I'm done. So which ones are you doubling the values of?
I'm obviously going to double. We'll do these 2.
Yeah. So if a 3 dies, you know that it's him, and then you'll have to roll if a 2 dies, which one it is. But first, I guess we're gonna roll for casualties. Oh my god!
Yeah, that seems fine. That seems
0
good.
casualty,
That seems good.
2 casualties. that's awful. That's really awful. Okay. So I flip, I group, I shuffle. Those 2. Okay. So those 2 go here. Now I have this, so that's 6 overall.
I have 12.
Yeah, I'm completely obliterated. So that means that I lose the control.
Mm-hmm.
I lose the cannons. Oh my god! You can remove this, and I lose 1 morale.
Yeah.
That's awful.
That's judicious use of the crossbow there, Fred. You gotta
Yes.
you gotta learn these ways.
I think that we're probably gonna end the round, and then I'm gonna give up. I think that's that because that round was basically it. I think I cannot recover from that. But I will go through the round, and I'm gonna try to do at least one.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, Fred, it's very dire. You've lost 3 of your cannons, but he's also probably played his best strategy card, exhausted several of his good troops, and you never know. I mean, not to draw it out, the game is meant to be, it's quite swingy, as you can see, because we've got dice, we've got random elements, but it's also meant to play fairly quickly. So if if you've just hit a wall here and you want to the Ottomans want to retreat and go back and drink coffee, they can do that. So, or
we'll see.
You can play it out. You can see if you can snatch victory from them.
I'm going to try to see if I get in a better position before the end of the round, but I'm playing this card for the event to recover artillery, and I'm going to bring back 2 cannons here.
See, it's not so bad.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I almost don't have any troops anymore. I have 5 troops, which is not great.
Yeah, I'm going to play this one for the event to eliminate a random troop from your deck and reduce your morale by 1.
Okay, yeah, so that's that one, and yeah, I think that's.
I really don't want you to feel like you can launch any offensives this turn.
Yeah.
Just.
Oh, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna play this card to cancel the event. I think it was this.
Fred is feeling the declining morale in real time.
Yeah, that's really awful. And I'm gonna play. How many cards you still have left?
I have 3 cards.
Oh yeah, because you have your tactic cards in your.
Yeah, my tactic cards are in my hand. Sorry, I'll flip them and put them down. Makes it easier for me to remember what they are.
I'm gonna play this to start digging.
I'm going to. Oh, those are ditch hexes. The ditch is this bit in the middle, isn't
Yes.
it, for me? Okay. I don't even know if Fred's going to get to the ditch.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near the ditch.
I'm going to play Harsh Discipline to reduce your morale by another 1.
Oh, my God. That's awful. And I guess I'm gonna play this card to. You know what? It's probably my last action of this game. So I'm gonna dig another tunnel. Oh, it's good.
This will increase my morale and add a troop from my discard to my deck.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't change anything. You're gonna reshuffle right now anyway.
Yeah, not really. Doesn't the morale basically, but
yeah,
I'll put him back in anyway.
Yeah. So that's round 4.
I have 1 more card, Fred.
Oh, you had 1 more card. My God, that's awful.
No, you canceled one of my cards with one of yours. Which, I mean, I feel like I don't really want to attack there. I only have 4.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be really strong now.
But I just really have to survive 2 more rounds without you winning, right? So
yeah, but I think if you attack and succeed in this, I think it's I really think it's over. To be honest.
No, I don't really like I'll just I'm gonna build 2 improvised fortifications and I need ditch hexes, so I can put some ditch hexes down. I can put some fortifications down in there in case you do take the Ravelin in that unlikely event.
Okay, so now we go to round 4. I have 8 troops left to your 9, which is not what's supposed to be. Oh, that's really bad. That's really bad.
I love your terribly messy graveyard there, Fred.
Yeah.
The Ottomans don't have time to bury their dead.
Originally, it made some sense, but the thing is that it's not. Yeah.
Well, historically, the Ottoman camp fell into disarray and kind of confusion with poor hygienic standards, and that's kind of what we're.
Yeah, that's what you can see. The century is coming. This is like it's getting messy. Okay, so I guess that the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to even out a bit the odds, and I'm going to play this for the event, and I'm going to roll 5 dice, and for 5 or 6s, I'm going to remove a troop, but that's only going to be up to 2, but let's see if I get lucky. Oh putain.
That was
Bordel à cul. Mais c'est infernal. Putain.
Okay, I'm gonna play Mortar Fire, which is my equivalent of that event. It's only on 6s, but given how this has gone for me, I'm pretty confident in that.
Yeah, that's enough.
Holy
yeah,
cow.
3 6s. Yeah.
Now we see why Stuart likes Warriors of God.
Yeah. Stuart just likes rolling dice.
It's just I'm trying to teach him an important lesson, which is that he's got to learn to roll better.
Oh my God.
I don't think he's practicing. You got to practice your rolling. You know, it's really key. There's a knack to it. You know.
What will I do?
That's a great card. That one you just had there. If you got the shovels.
This one?
Mm-hmm. Because that can open up that space in front of you.
But wouldn't just, because I already have 2 shovels here, wouldn't just drawing the right shovel will remove this anyway?
Yes, but if you look at that card, it'll also take out a cannon. And he doesn't have, actually, yes, I just noticed he doesn't have an improvised fortification there. So that's a real kind of walnut Nutcracker card.
Okay.
But maybe it's not as necessary there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It might not be necessary yet.
Mm-hmm. But it also lets you cause an explosion off of 3 shovels as opposed to 4.
Yeah, but the problem is, do I have the 3 shovels?
Or you've got that too, actually.
Yeah, I've got that too. That's the thing. But then again, with this one, I don't need that one. The thing is that I'm not sure about the back composition of this. I'm not sure what's my probability of drawing a value 2 or something. I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this for the event. I'm gonna draw 2 tiles. Oh yeah, of course. That's a 4. So that means, and I'm targeting that that hex. So that removes this fortification.
Yes.
Now, does that? So I have an event that's play this card in response to a mine action, not a mine action triggered by an event. That's a mine.
So this
action
one is triggered by the event. Yeah, it's triggered by the event.
I wasn't sure if that was just the ones that let you do it with 3 or less. That's fine.
But I don't even have troops anymore, so I don't know what to do. Yeah. We can go, Stuart.
Yeah, I'm just discard this to put an improvised fortification in.
I'm going to take a look at your troop cards, Fred. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. When you're going to look at the troop cards, you're going to realize I'm basically done.
Oh, well.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yes, though if you can get in there, that would change the game if you can take the Ravelin.
If I can get in there, yes, I would like that. But the thing is that I'm not sure I can. That's the.
Well, and he's got a crossbow now too, so.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I guess I will try.
They were essential to winning the 1565 Siege of Malta, so I feel like they're going to come through for us a century later.
They were. It's a very underappreciated weapon.
Classic.
You should write a book about it, Stuart.
Yeah, that would be really clever, actually. And I should talk about Malta in the book. That would be really clever.
But I'm gonna go for.
That's a great siege, by the way, Malta.
Yeah. I had forgotten which of these I have, but I think they're just okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do an assault here. My Hail Mary attempt at doing something. So this time it's going to be only 4 cards, though.
Yes, this is a Hail Mary attempt. This is probably the game here.
Yeah. And I'm not even sure. I don't think I can win it. Even with the... Oh, by the way, I need to discard a card to do that. I haven't even done that. I'm going to use this one because the storm, I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to be in a position to do 2 assaults in a row. That's just not possible. And what will I do? I cannot use this. Yeah, of course I would use that.
So eliminations on my cannons if this does go his way.
Yes, if Fred wins the assault, you will lose 4 guns.
Yeah.
So the question is, will your streak of rolling 3 6s or 2 6s every single time you touch the dice continue?
I think it will. And I think my streak of rolling maximum 2 will potentially continue. Okay. So 1 has to go on the back for the improvised. Oh, actually, oh my god, I forgot. I'm so stupid. I play this card and I basically place this. Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah, it's okay. So that's good. We can roll for. So what's your event?
It just reduces your morale during resolution, so you'll take a
Yeah,
morale
of
hit.
course. So I take a morale hit. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And I roll.
Yeah.
And that's one hit.
One.
And
Only
that's
one hit.
One
Okay.
hit.
Man, I'm having
How
bad
is-
dice this game.
Shut up, Stuart.
So this is a rather important.
Oh my god.
What did you lose there? You lost.
I lose the
Janison?
janitary. Yeah.
Oh, so what's the math here?
I think
Oops,
it's.
I dealt one to you. Hit you and
Yeah. It's
Just kill
exactly
that
what I
one.
wanted to see. Yeah, that's a 3. So that's
Oh,
Me and my TTS weakness.
so that's 4 to you to my 6s. So that means that this is taken.
you took the hex, yeah.
I did took the hex. But at what cost, Robert? At what cost?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
The problem is
And
now
then
if
you
I
get a morale and I lose a morale.
Yes.
the problem is, do I want to move all my cannons there? Probably not.
Well, if you want to have any chance of them having any bearing on your forward position, you'll need to.
Yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, that's where we are now. Good. Back to you, Stuart.
Okay, I'm going to return one of my eliminated troops. My troop deck. I presume I get to pick, although I think they are literally all the same card. So I don't know that it really matters. Yeah. Okay, that's me.
And Well. I'm gonna. Not really sure what to do here. I'm thinking about bombarding actually, because I need to roll just 1/6 to remove a temporary fortification, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to mine through my fortifications, don't you? Bombard will just kill my units.
Oh yeah, yes. So no,
you
for
can
his
store fortifications. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he can take out structural fortifications with a bombard.
But I cannot
do that.
But I cannot take the improvised
No.
fortifications. Okay, so I would have to assault this to actually do something.
I mean, you can also, Fred, if you don't mind, I don't know if I'm allowed to interject here.
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
But I mean, there's this space here, which isn't an automatic. You've also got, it would depend on what you're trying to do, right? This and this gives you morale, and they're almost free pickups. Although with Stuart's 6s, it could kill the last 2 of your troops.
Yeah, and he has 7 troops to my 2, so.
Yeah, so you're kind of in a bit of your question would be, I mean, I don't know if you want to play another round, but your question, I mean, myself, I would try to see if I could pull it out of the fire on this one, because you're really under the gun. And you might potentially have some cards coming up that will give you some troops back, but you don't know if you're going to get those or not.
Oh, but that's the problem, Robert. I had 2 cards already in round 2 to do that, and I think that's pretty much all of them in the deck. And one Stuart forced me to discard, and the other I played for something else. So I know that I'm screwed. So that's the thing.
You're pretty screwed. Yes, I
Yeah.
would say you're pretty screwed. You never know, though. I mean, anyhow, but that's the question, isn't it?
Because I don't have the advantage of taking this with the advantage to be 4 to 3, because I only have 2 cards left in my.
Yeah, you won't, because he'll put.
And you only have 3 morale, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think
you can pull your
gonna...
discards with your morale.
Yeah, although you could.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
No. You might just not have enough. It might be, you might want to kind of retreat. Go back.
Yeah.
You'll get strangled by the,
Yeah, I'll get strangled, but it would be strangled with a silk rope, which is, I guess it's okay. It makes it okay.
It probably feels nice for a while.
Probably. So I think I would go and retreat Stuart and go get strangled. I think that's probably the best I can do right now.
What's some of the medieval European punishment where they would sew you in a bag and throw you in the river?
Yeah, so you see,
it could be worse. Silk and rope.
It could be definitely worse. But
great
game, Stuart.
Thanks.
You've been a great defender of Vienna. Very, very impressive.
And I hope you've learned to not talk dirt about Warriors of God, because
I don't want to talk about Warriors
the
of God.
dice are watching you.
It could have been such a good game. I think it's so boring. But yeah, if you're interested in Warriors of God, know that we've recorded a collective review that you can find it either on the podcast, or I also made a video version on the channel. So if you want to listen to that and understand why Stuart is annoying me that much with the Warriors of God, you can go and have a listen. But that was great. Before we close the stream, I just wanted to finish maybe with a few questions and also have your reactions, Stuart, to the game. And while you think about this, Stuart, I'm going to ask a question to Robert. And I was wondering, Robert, were you inspired by other games? Because we talked in the introduction that there is not a lot of siege war games, but I was wondering if there are some other games, war games or not, that actually inspired your design to make this one that feels really unique in terms of war games that at least I have played. But I'm always curious to see what were your design inspirations.
Yeah, there's nothing, and there's nothing specifically that inspired this. And I don't want that to sound like, oh, it's a purely original invention, because of course there's always elements that come from other games and so forth. But I'm not really myself clear on what they are. It was really a lot of the design elements in this were really me trying to find a way to kind of, I guess, depict my understanding of what happened and kind of the decision space and this sort of thing that we had there. I mean, Niels asked about Lille, which is from the old SPI collection, the quad siege quad. I actually haven't played that, Niels. I've long admired the map and have got plans to kind of do my own print and play version of it. I love the little parallels and so forth, but I haven't played it, so I can't really comment if this sort of matches it or not. Pierre mentions that he loves how quick it plays, and that was really, I mean, I think we were playing for about an hour, and that was with hour and 15 with a teach, and that was really part of this game too. And I think that when a game has got, when you've got dice in a game like this, it's good if it goes quick. You know what I mean? Because if you really hit a wall where you really like the dice aren't going for you, if you're playing this in the afternoon, you could set it up and try it again.
So we're clear, Robert. If a game that makes you throw a lot of dice is long, something is wrong. It should be a quick game. So going back to the discussion about Warriors of God, we do agree that it's a pretty bad game.
It is too long. Conceded that happily. That game
sorry
is too
for
long.
derating. But no, and I was wondering, so Stuart, it was your first play, and I was wondering, how did you, because I know that you're really interested also in siege warfare and everything, and I was curious to also have a bit of the sense of how did you like it?
I liked it, yeah, and I like that narrow focus, that shorter game narrow focus, because there's so much to a siege. It's really easy to balloon these huge, massive games out of it, and they can be really interesting. So I kept thinking about, I played a preview of Waning Crescent Shattered Cross, which Legion Wargames is going to publish on Malta. So the other big kind of Ottoman, and then honestly mostly Habsburg troops siege, and that's like a big strategic, the whole thing, and it takes hours to play. But this, it's similar era tactics. You have this gunpowder, you have mining, you have that stuff, but that's this really zoomed out version of about a century before. And this is this really tight, focused 1 to 2 hour experience. And I think it does capture a lot of that. You really feel like you're fighting out this one pitched area of the siege. And I like that. I like the mining, any game that's got mining in it. How can you not like it? It's great. And
I think that the mining is
better
actually
than Fred. It's great.
Yeah. That's always the problem.
I also really like tight decks, like little decks that you can kind of learn, but you don't know if they'll show up. All the cards will show up in the game. They won't all show up, so that kind of thing. And I liked the troop elimination, which was something I heard a bit about the game before, but I didn't know about how it was going to capture the slow attrition, where I basically, targeted Fred's deck and slowly killed his troops so that it makes it harder and harder and harder for him to launch assaults, which I think is a really key part of how these sieges went, particularly with Ottomans having these huge numbers, but you only have so many Janissaries. And if you're risking Janissaries and you start losing them, then it becomes harder and harder to push that assault with your worse and worse troops, versus if I can hold what I have together and winnow his deck down, then suddenly, even if I've lost the Ravelin, he doesn't have the momentum to get into the city. So I think that's a really interesting way to kind of represent the attrition of siege in quite a elegant, not counter heavy experience.
Yeah, it's really great in that sense. I think it's a really nice approach to siege games. The only one that there's another siege game that I liked, which it also talks about the Ottomans, but it's a way later period of the Ottoman Empire, which is Freedom by Phalanx Games.
Yeah.
On the siege of Missolonghi, this one is actually focused on the whole siege, and you actually have even almost political aspects to it, because you also play cards in abstract spaces. You also think about the supply and everything. So you have something that is really about trying to find that breach. So it's more about finding the breach than actually doing it like this. So it's a bit more abstracted, but it's quite interesting to see how the Ottoman troops are attacking that Greek city. But you also have the political aspects to it, and all that, which is providing a very different experience than this. I like the narrowness of this one, really being focused on that specific aspect of a specific breach. And I love the shovels. I think it's really fun. But I think it's really great. You do the feeling of attrition is very nice, like, because you feel you have different paths to victory, which is quite interesting with 14 hexes, and like it feels very tight, but you still have a lot of different options to how you want to try and win, which I think is really, really, really interesting. I definitely would like to play it again. I want to have my revenge, Stuart, if that's okay. But it was great. And before we conclude, I just wanted to ask, so what are the games are you working on right now, Robert?
So I've got a few things kind of brewing along. I'm sort of working on a development for a game right now, which isn't a war game, which is sort of my first sort of conflict themed game. It's sort of almost like a medieval monster hunting game about marginalia, which are the little creatures that monks would draw in the margins of manuscripts, and about how they come to life and you have to go out and collect them. So that's something that I've got kind of developing, more of a kind of a general interest kind of game. On the war game front, I'm still kind of, I've got a sort of a dream about doing another sort of Ottoman game that would take in more of the history of the Mediterranean, kind of the long running conflict between the Ottomans and the European Mediterranean powers, the Venetians and the Spanish and so forth. So the kind of the longer running kind of Habsburg Ottoman wars, which would take in some of the things, like Malta and so forth, and that sort of thing. But that's kind of a longer project that's still pretty early. But those are two things that I'm working on right now.
Before Fred comes in with his own marginalia comment, I wanted to show, because I have it here, some of my favorite marginalia, which is this rabbits hunting people.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love it.
It's a real theme, but those are from the Bodleian. I particularly like them because they use crossbows. But rabbits hunting people, marginalia, a classic.
It's funny. One of the inspirations for me. So sorry.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Robert, because I'm actually I have a small prototype that started as a joke. That is actually so the game is called Medieval Snail Monster Hunter, and the players are actually knights. And they are actually fighting monster snails in the margins.
Oh, it's wonderful.
So you have different snails, and those characters are like those. Yeah, you're actually riding snails to fight them. And it's only about this. It's a very dumb card game, almost like a dungeon crawler. But when I heard about it, I thought it was really funny that you were doing something like this.
And this is a game you're working on.
Yeah. It started as a joke. I made a joke to Joe, so the Joe Dewhurst, with which I do everything. So he's my I call him my design husband, but he's developing all of my games. And I made a joke to him about this, and then the joke just became a game that I think only the two of us played. So that's the thing. So it was just a side game. And when I heard about this, I thought it was funny, because I think there's so much to do with this space of those small illustrations. There is so much game in there. And there was a video game recently that was also using some of that, some of those visuals. Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if it's come out yet. I know the one you're talking about, though. They're such great visuals.
It's amazing.
It's funny. We must be sharing a bit of a brain on this, but I love the artwork. I love the artwork, and it's another kind of a way of kind of getting history. most of my interest in the gaming starts with history as opposed to mechanics, for example, or even genre. And in there, it was really kind of an interest in the artwork. They're just amazing. I was specifically looking at some artwork from something called the Luttrell manuscript, which is just a stunning 14th century Psalter. Just amazing, inventive, creative drawings in it. So.
Yeah, I love medieval art. That's why I managed to shove as much as I could into my book. As I ruthlessly plug myself, I have to show my other favorite stupid medieval picture.
I'm going to buy a copy now.
Which is it's the skeleton dancing with the giant crossbow bolt next to the rich lady.
Oh yeah, this one is awesome.
Classic. And then at the bottom, there's a little crossbow dude who's emerging out of a flower, like
like crossbowmen usually do in battle.
Yeah, you know how they are.
Yes, they're sneaky like that. But I think that's a good point to end the stream. I would like to thank you again, Robert, for being here tonight. It was really a pleasure having you. Fantastic game. Looking forward to playing it again, Stuart. And I think the thing with the separate deck and everything, I think we could play physically remotely, which could be nice. We don't necessarily have to play it on TTS, but we'll see if we can do this. Thanks, Stuart, also for being here. And based on the stuff that you're working on, Robert, I think you need to come back. So we need to organize something to have at least you one other time in the coming months. That would be I would really love it.
I'd love to. Thank you very much, Fred.
And thanks for everyone who was watching. Have a great evening or afternoon if you are in North America, I guess, or morning if you're watching us from somewhere in Japan or something like this. It was great to have all of you reacting in the comments, asking questions. So thanks a lot to all of you. And thanks for supporting the show if you do. And if you don't, well, you can support the show by backing me on Ko-fi. Or just subscribe to the channel or comment or do stuff or share it. But yeah, it was great to have all of you here. Have a good rest of your day or night and see you soon. Bye-bye.